22 years ago, I was leaving my dorm room. I was going to class. One of the few times I actually did that year. There's an old gentleman who used to work the desk at night where I stayed. He's a good guy, veteran. Interesting fella. And usually by the time I'd get out and go, he was already got out and gone. Not that morning. That morning he was standing in the middle of the lobby, staring at the big screen TV over in the corner. And he was paler than usual. And I walked up to him and asked him what was going on, what was he watching. I thought what was happening on the screen was a movie. I had no idea what had just happened, or what was about to happen. A skyscraper with a bunch of smoke billowing out of it. I stood there with this old guy. I watched something crash into another skyscraper right next to it. It took me a few minutes to realize that that was a jet. It took me even longer to realize that it was real. This old gentleman went out, stood outside the door of the lobby, lit himself a cigarette. I went out there and joined him. I bummed a smoke off a friend of mine. I hadn't even thought about carrying mine to go to class. I barely smoked much anyway. But realizing that was actually something that just happened, and that wasn't a movie. Sank my stomach. This older fella gave me a few words of warning about what was coming after that. And the thing is, he was right. He said this will be used as an excuse to rob us of our liberty, to violate our rights, and to start who knows how many wars with who knows how many countries. It'll cost only God knows how many lives. As if the 2,977 lives lost that day weren't enough. Since then, we've had the passage of the Patriot Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, and all kinds of other crap tacked on to other bills that have gone through the halls of our Congress. Now, I don't know how many of these bills any of y'all have read. I don't know if any of y'all are old enough to remember when we were told that those airplanes were crashed into those twin towers by people who hate us for our freedom. Well, if they hated our freedom, why did our government use that as an excuse to take those freedoms away? You see, I remember when there was no TSA. I remember when you could get onto an airplane with a 3-inch blade on your belt. I remember being able to walk through an airport, not having to let somebody touch your butthole. I remember the days before children and grandmas were getting molested by people who aren't smart enough to work at McDonald's, so they get hired to work at the TSA and airport security. I remember the days before 2,977 people lost their lives because some shitbags decided to crash airplanes into the Twin Towers. So when you hear never forget, never forget those lives that were lost that day, people who were murdered. And never forget the liberty that we lost in the following days.